this.
And it's gone. All right, have a good shot.
So today we're going to talk about some very important issues. The show is it's as important as the death penalty. Really, it has to do with putting kids in jail for 3 years for cannabis charges, and it's a very bad law. So please vote no on Prop 64. Hey, welcome to Liberal Buzz. I'm your host, Denise Dory, and my guest, Shona, is experiencing illness and her phone's broken, so I always keep my time slots open for her, but if she can't appear, because all I'm going to talk about is Prop 64, and some legal analysis I don't really agree with, so we have to all get all our ducks in a row and make sure that we shoot this down. Now, on Twitter, I've been getting more and more retweets of, so it's looking good that a lot of people are on starting to see through the deception that is Prop 64. So I'll explain why and why you should vote no. We've got huge fines going into a slush fund. If that, I'm just saying, if you get caught with a 200 with smoking outdoors, it's a $250 fine, and if you're a young kid, they're going to send you to rehab, and that rehab is, of course, for profit. And so is the jails they send you to. Those are for profit. Although today, this is a news flash. I don't know where it's going, but Obama is going to put an end to private prisons. So that's going to be one of the best things he ever did, as far as I'm concerned, because there's a couple things I disagree with, but he's a pretty good president. I don't agree with how many people he deported. But anyway, back to this this horror that is Prop 64. I went to the DCCC. They've endorsed it. They aren't going to withdraw their endorsement, or they might. We're going to try to make a resolution. I went and gave public comment last night. It's on our Axis of Love show, which is can be found on my Twitter feed, Denise Dory. It's so see, because cannabis, it's treated like an intoxicant instead of what it is, which is a euphorant, like reishi mushrooms, you know. And see, cannabis has no cumulative effect, so why are we being treated like it's alcohol? Especially sativas, and sativas don't even smell that bad when they're grown outdoors, by the way. So, all use is medicinal or therapeutic, so they're trying to really overregulate us really big time. It's Prop 64, it's favored by the Southern Wine and Spirit Lobby and George Soros and Monsanto. A simple majority would actually overturn any portion of the legalization. Any portion. Just a vote in Sacramento. And so there's no protection from Child Protective Services. If they want to take your kids away for you having pot in your backyard, they'll take them. And this law has no protections for that. So, and it has no protection at work either. So your employer can bar you from working there just because you have cannabis in your system. So whether it's metabolized or not, it stays in your system like 90 days, metabolized. So it's so Prop 64 has up to 3 years prison time and so I don't know how they get off calling it legalization. So the city where I grow, prohibition. It already prohibits outdoor grows, so already I can't. So what would motivate me to want to vote yes on this when it's still going to be illegal where I would grow anyway? So there's no motivation. In 250 cities and towns, it's illegal to grow cannabis outdoors, and sometimes indoors is just meth lab politics. Let's face it. I'm talking about more nuclear power plants because those bright lights have to be, have to simulate sunlight, and that means it has to be bright, or the colas just won't grow. So indoor grows, they're like way less yield, like 1/4 the yield, and it's 1.5 less medicinal. There's like less THC, and if Monsanto patents it, which is, you know, it could happen. If Monsanto patents this, nobody will have any seeds or be able to grow it. Well, you see, and I'm asking you to please vote no on this in November. The committee members didn't have, when the people who endorsed it at the DCCC didn't even have a chance to read it. It had just been written. The ink was barely dry, and they had a meeting in June to endorse it, which they did, and none of them. Well, a lot of them didn't read it, so there was only one. It won by one vote, and that person was voted out of the board since then in the June election. So it was just. It seems so orchestrated, doesn't it? It was all just pushed through, you know. It's just so cunning and evil, this Prop 64. You've got to vote no. They want to pay a lot more for. Can you imagine paying over $100 for an eighth? Because it can happen, you know. And this is medicine that costs $20 per plant to grow outdoors. And so it's just. I've got to talk now. Let's talk about what they're promising here. Let me get on to. I want to read some statements by Shona Gokenauer, since she was supposed to be she sent me some statements to read on the air. So she says, please pay attention. In California, this doesn't mean anything other than if you grow more than 6 indoors, that MMRSA, which is MMRSA allows Prop 64, and Prop 64 is getting ready to pass. They think they're planning on it. The feds will still be able to arrest you because it's still illegal under federal law, folks. You know, they think that, we legalized cannabis in California. No, you didn't. It's still illegal under federal law. So they're dreaming. So and 6 indoor plants, you know, like I explained, they're just low potency. They're just not as good. You know what I'm saying, if you've ever tried it. And if somebody's seriously ill, she says, you don't know anything about how much it takes to help save a seriously ill patient. They're in business. They're not. So 6 plant limit she goes on to say 6 plant limit is just for adult use. What is terrible and will deeply affect patients' access with the double-headed beast is they took apart Senate Bill 420 rights to collectively grow. And most seriously, poor patients depend on getting membership and free cannabis from collectives that grow for them, because of course they don't have land to grow. And and they can't afford $40 a day for an eighth. And instead of finding a path that verified the donations and prevented patients' exploitive practices, which means, you know, some of these people would just take your card. These aren't Shona's words, but some people would just take your card and act like they're growing for you and then give you nothing, and they'd keep everything, all the harvest, but they legally grew it, right? But they didn't give it to you. So anyway, there's ways around that. We don't have to be over-regulated by Prop 64 to verify these, but she's saying they cut off access and that won't bring tax revenue. And we have to make sure that 6 plant limit is for adult use, not medicinal use. And the federal guidelines will probably remain. They aren't going after patients unless it's 99 plus. That's the federal's guidelines. So see, the federal and the state guidelines are going to conflict. So it should be about triple the cost, which, I mean, you know, if you get $30 for an eighth, good luck getting, you know, you can get it an eighth for $100, because they're going to tax it a lot. So there's no level playing field for nonprofits, which is what the dispensary system is now. And, you know, the Prop 64 says that adult use is unregulated. Well, it isn't. It's actually very tightly regulated. So if you want to go to a dispensary and get a card, and then good luck getting a card after Prop 64, because Prop 64, you won't be able to get a card. Because the doctors will be scared to death to prescribe anything. Because and plus there won't be any doctor-patient confidentiality anymore. So that'll be over, and that's Jim Crow. Because do we have to conform to that in other areas of our the medical spectrum? I mean, I'm talking about when you go to the doctor for hemorrhoids or whatever it is, they don't tell the world that you have hemorrhoids, and they're not going to. So why are we being treated? Why are cannabis patients having to submit their what their illness is, and you probably have to be dying in 6 months to get it? I don't know. They haven't. They're not even specific about that, on purpose, because it's all subject to change, and no verified. We need equity in healthcare, really, and so I'm just really urging you to read it. First, it's 64 pages of. It's about as much fun being waterboarded if you want to read it. But the marijuana industry, they need to license it. Well, we already are. We have local regulations, and they're pretty strict. Now I'll talk about the polluting the environment. Now, polluting the environment is bad. I know that's terrible, and so the wine does it too. Growing grapes pollutes is terrible on the environment. It killed 10,000 fish when I lived in Australia because they had a heavy rain and all the fertilizer washed into the river, and all the fish just floated belly up. 10,000 of them, from just algae overbloom. But anyway, back to my point is, there's things that are bad for the environment that can be legislated without this Prop 64, and it'll tax it says here in Part C, in the first portion, it'll tax the growth and sale of cannabis, and it'll cover the cost of administering the new law, and prevent serious substance abuse. Now, I don't know about you, but why isn't alcohol treated like that? Because alcohol is really the gateway substance. It's addictive. It's toxic. It's an intoxicant. It's not a euphoric. Because remember, cannabis has no cumulative effect. You can smoke all day and get the same effect. Sometimes you'll smoke yourself down and have a tolerance, and you won't be able to feel it unless you stop smoking it. So it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier. So they're going to focus on DUI. Really? Well, they haven't really proven that, cannabis impairs your driving. So where does that come from? Where do they get off saying that? So the Prop 64 will incapacitate the black market. Well, I hate calling it the black market. Let's call it the underground market. And it won't, because Prop 215 already has done that. So, and SB 420. Which SB 420 is a Senate bill allowing patients to grow for each other. And for folks who are hip to 420, I don't know why it's called 420. It's a time of day, and it's the name of a bill. So, and they're really vague about where children congregate and things like that. So they're saying that if you possess pot when you're 18 and up, this is the bad one. I can't stand this one. Listen to this. Age 18 and up, if you grow over 6 plants, you get 16 months to 2 to 3 years in prison. If you grow over 6 plants, you need to know this. So before you vote for this, you got to tell people no on adult use of cannabis, adult use of marijuana act, AUMA it's called. So if you home grow 1 to 6 cannabis plants, 6 months to 2 and 3 years, that's before. But it's like they have too much. There's too many problems with this. I just really hate it. There's also, we got to worry about Monsanto. Now The money, if you trace the money, Monsanto is probably gonna want to, confiscate your seeds and make no more growing from year to year. You have to buy your seeds every year. So if you know, um, they keep calling it non-medical marijuana over and over and over, and I just don't know what is that. What is non-medical marijuana? I guess it would be the fake marijuana that the synthetic marijuana, because that stuff will kill you. So anyway, now these are all my arguments. All these are my arguments. I'm just quoting the text. Now the purpose and intent. I've got section 4 actually, in personal use. It says that you can't give away cannabis, more than an ounce of cannabis. So there goes patients who want to receive free cannabis. You can't, if you're dealing with like 20 patients in a collective, an ounce is going to give them a gram each to last them how long? It's not doable. It really isn't. So, and the main thing is we have to worry about is doctors being afraid to prescribe this. This is what we're saying. Another thing. And not being able to have it be your own business whether you have cannabis or not. Yeah, so you can't call in. There's no calling in. My friend's trying to call in, and he's texting me saying that he can't call in. He was going to be a guest too, but that's okay. The phones don't work, but at least the electricity's on today. That's great. So it really Prop 64. It's the new class warfare, and so if they rewrote the health code. We've got a lot of problems with this. There's just so many problems. It's unbelievable. And so I've got to just go over some of this with you here. Now, what I'm saying is, sorry I hung up on you, friend. Okay, see, the Democratic clubs are ignoring patients who legitimize cannabis. So if you see a Democratic slate saying vote yes on Prop 64, I hope you vote no anyway, because I know a lot of people follow the Democratic slate, and I'm a Democrat. I'm a registered Democrat, but I don't want to vote yes on that. So anyway, I'm not even going to hand out their slates this year. It's the first time not the first time I haven't. So see, because Prop 64. It's restructured prohibition. It really is, and it's written by people that hate cannabis. Can you imagine, having somebody who hates the food they're cooking make dinner for you, and they probably it's going to taste not very. Anyway, so we've got. Let's see. I went to the DCCC meeting and I gave public comment, but this is interesting. This is something somebody posted on my wall. Regulate drug markets, put government in control. Now, that was from Chris Wolf. UNGAS last year, overhead projection tells volumes. So they want to put the government in control of all medications, I suppose. Well, nobody's negotiating with Congress to lower the drug prices. Congress is bought in this country. So if you go to get Hep C medication here, it's $80,000, where in India or somewhere like that, it's like, maybe $900. So, yeah, we're getting screwed by the system, people, and you should be mad. And here they're trying to take the best med, whether you like cannabis yet or not, or you think you like it or you don't. You don't know whether you like it. It's good for you, and everyone has cannabis receptors, and we're all meant to have this. So for when a doctor that is a proponent of Prop 64, his name's Dr. Lyman, says that cannabis is unhealthy, he's a quack. Because, I mean, there's thousands of years of evidence that it's not unhealthy. So, vote no, and Sean Parker put another 1.25 million into this, so he must be worried. He's running scared. But please don't make us fight this alone. Get in on the battle with us. Go to Twitter, and we've got like quite a bit of information on our on our Twitter page too. So I'm gonna have to go in about 2 minutes. We've got 2 minutes left. So here we'll go over tweets. The Democratic clubs were apathetic and deluded, cheated, bought into voting and endorsing new Jim Crow Prop 64. And I went to 2 of those meetings, and it was a nightmare. Now, if you want to see the 21, this is from last year, 21 highlights of the hideous California Adult Use of Marijuana Act, which is Prop 64. That's from last year, but it'll give you some idea. And 67, did you know 67% of Ferguson population is black? With 6% voter registration among them? That was on the Tom Hartman show, and that's voter suppression, folks. You know, so anyhow, I really appreciate you tuning in, and I have, oh boy, I have 1 minute left, don't I? So, we've got, this is what I was looking for. I'm gonna leave you with this. So, Adult Use of Marijuana Act says, vote, stay calm, everything will be okay. We are here to help you. And so, here's a picture of Sean Parker. He contributed some money towards this. Now, I urge you to, watch Psychic Frank on next Thursday at 5 p.m. He puts on a great show, and he's expanding his audience onto YouTube. And adopt a shelter pet. Bye-bye.